Humans have been cultivating lands for thousands of years, believing that they were the first to discover farming. But oh, how wrong they were. Ants, like the leafcutter ant Ataspa, have been around for more than 50 million years, cultivating fungus for their consumption. Some people even consider them to be the first species to discover farming. This method of food procurement has evolved through the means of eusociality, which is defined by cooperative brood care, overlapping generations within the colony, and the reproductive divisions of labor. Originally, leafcutter ants didn't use fresh leaf cuttings to grow fungus. Instead, they were debris collectors, using decaying leaves or plants to grow their unspecialized fungi. Their nest sizes were small, consisting of less than 200 workers, and the queens had short lifespans. Through evolution, debris-collecting ants became leaf-cutting ants that formed caste systems. These caste systems consisted of foragers who cut and collected the leaves, tiny guards who stand on the leaf cuttings, gardeners and nurses who care for the fungus and the ant larvae, excavators who expand the nest as the colony grows, trash handlers who take dead ants and bad mold deep under the nest to the garbage chambers, soldier ants, and the queens. The queens now have drastically longer lives, up to 20 years, and that has increased the numbers of workers in the colonies. It has been seen that some nests have had up to 5 to 10 million workers and maintain close to 1,000 football-sized fungus gardens.
Leafcutter ants have incredible strength, lifting leaf pieces that are 20 times their size. For reference, if a human were to lift a piece of wood that was 20 times proportional to their size, it would weigh roughly 600 pounds. To support all this heavy lifting, worker ants drink the sap of the leaves which they cut for energy whilst on the job. The ants are incredibly efficient as well, as a group of worker ants can strip a tree of all its leaves in one day. Once the leaf pieces are back in the anthill, they are cut into smaller pieces as well as intricately stacked. The pieces are glued together with the ant's feces, which also acts as a compost accelerator. The fungus is also kept alive by secretions from the ants' bodies, which works as antimicrobials. This helps to keep the fungus pure for consumption. The common fungus produced for consumption is called Lepotaceae, but other types can be produced.
The ants' fungus colonies seem pest-free. Originally, it was thought that the ants were so good at caring for their gardens that nothing ever took over, much like weeding a personal garden so that weeds don't take over. But once scientists was not convinced that it was so simple. After noticing a white, waxy substance on the back of the worker ants in the 90s, Cameron Curry, a bacteriologist, decided to look into it. After culturing 1,500 fungus samples, he found the same aggressive mold kept showing up. He found that the white substance was, in fact, a bacteria that produced antibiotics specifically targeted to suppress the growth of specialized garden parasites. That bacteria was vertically transmitted, meaning that it was passed on from mother to offspring. The ants fed their vertically transmitted bacteria through tiny subcuticular glands. In return, the bacteria provided antifungal compounds to kill the garden parasite. They feed cut leaf fragments to the fungus gardens, which in turn feeds them. The parasite also feeds off the fungus gardens and, if left unchecked, can overrun and kill the fungal cultivar and the entire ant colony. To prevent this, worker ants groom their fungal cultivar to remove spores and sterilize them with antifungal compounds made by the bacteria. Long story short, ants discovered anti-pesticides way before humans did. Aside from the fungus grown by the ants, there are also harmful fungi that affect the leafcutter ants. This harmful fungus is known as Ophiocordyceps, which is a parasite that manipulates the host, turning them into a zombie. Ants affected with this are typically assumed to die in one of two ways. They walk away from the colony and die in the leaf litter, or they climb high into the tree, bite down on a branch or leaf, then die. The spore then grows out of the ant in a horrible yet slightly fascinating way. The fungus farming ants are not only interesting from an entomologist standpoint, but they also have large impacts on the ecosystem. One study suggests that abandoned nests could have rich nutrient source for plants. They also suggest that the removal of leaves from the canopy increases the light reaching plants on the ground below. This can increase biodiversity of the plants in the areas that would otherwise be void of light. Overall, leafcutter ants are an amazing eusocial species that have a long history of mutualistic relationships with both the fungus they consume and the bacteria that keeps the gardens pest-free.